a script written by her, and it really felt like a total immersion into this world just for the few days that I did it anyway.
Okay, thanks, Jude. Now there's a question now for Rhys here, and really the questioner, who is, well, it says the Phoenix Cinema, which I assume is actually from the Phoenix Cinema as opposed to somebody who's adopted that as a name. What challenges did you face in adapting from urban films such as Shifty to playing the pizza boy? Did you pull on any of that for that character?
Was a very different project to Shifty and very different character. But I just, you know, going back to what Jude was saying about just, I think as actors we enjoy taking on diverse challenges, and Vijay was very different to anything I'd played before. In many ways, I guess the first, well, possibly not a comic character, but more tragicomic role that I played, and that really opened that up for me actually as an actor. And since then, the last 2 films I've shot have been comedies. So no, I just really enjoyed taking on that challenge and yeah, working with Sally.
Sally, Richard in Edinburgh wants to know, was anything specifically scripted for Michelangelo originally?
Oh, yeah. I did write some questions for Michelangelo, but it came absolutely... it's very difficult with Eddie. I just want to listen to Eddie. But anyway, yes, I did. But it became evident in the cutting room that it was more interesting for Michelangelo to remain unseen and unheard, so that everybody could project their own image onto this diminutive person, and therefore he would be, in a way, a more powerful vehicle of projection, let's say.
Great. Okay. So, question from the audience here. Yes, there's one just here. Can you just wait for a second while we just get a microphone? Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Excellent. This is one for Sally. Is there any? I want to know about the colours, the choice of colours in the background. Was there any rhyme or reason at all, or was it just that it kind of looked good depending upon what the person was wearing?
Well, I'm not sure that it was either rhyme or reason, but there was certainly some kind of deep logic, and there was also a technical means that really seemed to make sense. We shot everybody against a green screen. Originally, I was going to put more complex backgrounds in, and then it became evident simplicity had to be followed all the way through. But technically, what we did was sample colours from a part of that person's face or body. The eye colour, the lip colour, something in the clothes. So it was as if there was, and those things in turn had been chosen for character reasons, how people were dressed and what colours they had and so on. So it was like a kind of emotional colour that flowed out of the body and face of the individual onto the background. That's how I felt it. At the beginning, I was just making it up as we went along, and then suddenly realised there was this kind of hidden logic to it too.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a question now, apparently, from Katie at Stanford Arts Centre. There's Katie, and she's got a question for Sally. Go ahead, Katie.
Oh, hi, Sally. My question is, how do you feel about the human race? Well, sorry, I can't get used to it. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to forget the background, and I'm just going to say, how do you feel about the future of the human race if we continue to think of ourselves as products, concerned with the difference we can make and being noticed, rather than accepting and being at peace?
Okay, good one.
That's a challenge.
Well, I'm sure you've asked this question in part because the film itself, of course, is about people struggling with themselves as products or brands, and in a wider context of a real addiction to celebrity, as if without being famous you don't exist, you're somehow invisible. It's a kind of annihilation. And I guess this film is dancing around that theme. As for the future of the human race, I guess the sooner that we start both respecting each other and, of course, the planet that we're on, the more likely we have a future at all. But that goes almost without saying.
Okay, well, let me... I've got a question now from Michael in Brighton that's come in off SMS, and he wants to know, and maybe you might have ideas about this, was it hard to see the overall story when you were just doing your little individual segments? I mean, was that any different, actually, from doing a feature film normally?
While reading it, you mean?
Yeah, for you to get a sense of the whole...
There are many clues of the characters in other characters, because often other characters talk about the other characters. So It's like in the Shakespeare play, the keys are in others. What they say about you, let's say what you are trying to play.
But I should mention in passing that none of the cast ever met each other during this shoot. Each actor played for 2 days, and so the feeling of connectedness was obviously through what they had read in the script, or through me as a kind of channel, if you like, for the others, through my little impersonation of a small boy whilst filming. But I think each of the actors made a kind of intuitive leap through their own part with the feeling of the whole. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel like an ensemble, which they do extraordinarily.
Okay, shall we have another go at talking to Eddie? Hooray. Eddie, did you have any sense, that sense of not being aware of the kind of character development that was coming through from the other bits that were filmed because you just had this one little segment?
You ask me complicated questions and then we still don't know whether anyone can hear me.
No, you're perfect. You're perfect. I can hear you. Yay!
Well, I should answer the previous question. What was that question again?
Did you have a sense of the overarching story? Presumably you read the whole script before you recorded your bit.
It was interesting. I do like experimenting, and Sally was experimenting with this, and it was great because, I mean, I used to be a street performer, and then I was a sketch comedian before that, and then I was a stand-up, and I do like dramatically to go through, to be pushed and say, okay, we're going to do it this way. Excellent, fine, whatever someone comes up with, as long as they're, being true to the medium, I think it's great. So the fact that I could read it through and we had to come in and give our little segments, I thought was good. Challenging, difficult to do, but you just go with Sally and see where you can get to.
And I was talking earlier to Simon and Rhys on stage here about the intensity of just it being a sound person, Sally in the camera, and you. Was that a particular experience?
Yeah, that was very interesting in a very small room. I mean, I liked it because it was guerrilla filmmaking, and so that was very intense. But I sort of come from that. I mean, street performing is just yourself and a piece of street, so I like that. And then she'd said, okay, we're going to knock down this wall and spread it out so we're looking out into the road. I wouldn't have minded that. It's almost anywhere it goes because it's got to, if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger.
Okay, well, let's take a question now from Steve, who's at the Curzon Cinema in Richmond. And the question's for Sally.
This is Steve from Curzon, Richmond. For Sally Potter. In a recent blog, you say that this releasing strategy sidelines the cultural gatekeepers. Who, in your opinion, are the cultural gatekeepers?
Well, the most obvious cultural gatekeepers are critics who can still make or break a film and influence distributors and exhibitors about whether it's really worth the risk or how many screens it can go to and so on. So a relatively small number of people can have a lot of power. But I think what the implications for this way of filmmaking, which is very loose and fast and free and what we called it barefoot filmmaking, but also for this way of putting a film out free on mobile phones and the internet, does seem to take a neat twist around really the whole lumbering machinery of the studio system and so on, and make direct communication between filmmakers and audience a real possibility, which is exciting, and that's what I really meant by taking a little dance, a little sidestep around these cultural gatekeepers, whoever they may be.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
He's happy. Good. I suppose the question that hangs behind all of this is the idea of, is this the beginning of the end of conventional distribution? If you can do this once, how much more sophisticated could